Do you struggle while layering on a mixed media layout and don't know how to combine fussy cut elements and flowers? Well, continue watching this tutorial to learn how. Hello everyone, welcome to Joyful Creations. This is Jayashree this side. Thank you for stopping by. Please do subscribe to the channel if you are new here or haven't subscribed yet. I will truly appreciate it. To begin with the tutorial, I have here a wooden window frame. The size of this is 7 by 5 inches. I am going to use this as my main element around which my whole composition will be formed. I am using a chalk paint from Little Birdie in the color Spanish Moss. It's a very nice dark green color. The chalk paint, as you can see, is all dried up as it is very old, but adding a little water makes the consistency flowy again and makes it easy to apply. I have chosen this color as this project was created as an inspiration project for Preeka's Block Challenge theme, which you can see on your screen. Once I have painted it all over, I am taking a wax candle and rubbing it all over my window. I am doing this to get a distressed look. Next, I am taking lighter shades of green. I am taking Victorian green impasto paint and mixing it with a little bit of olive moss powder pigment from Expressions Craft. Adding a little water to activate the powder pigment color and then applying all over the window. Once this paint dries, I am taking a sandpaper and rubbing around the areas where I had applied wax. This will help the lighter color of paint to peel off and give a distressed look to the window. You can also do it with a palette knife as well, like I am showing in case you don't have a sandpaper. Now moving on to preparing the base for the layout, I am using here a heavyweight white chipboard in 12 by 12 inch size. I am placing my window on it and marking the area around it with pencil so that I know where all I want to make my texture design. Next, I am using a mini brick stencil from the Crafters Workshop. I am not sure if it's still available. And with the help of Crackle Texture Paste, creating the brick wall design on the area around the window. Next, I am taking the Floral Net Design stencil from Finnabair. This is from her latest collection. And creating a design in a V shape going down and in other places around the brick wall design as well. Also applying the paste randomly around the designed areas so as to get some added textured background. Since I left the Crackle Texture Paste to air dry, I was able to achieve some really fine cracks all over. Next step is to prime the base so that our paints and water doesn't get absorbed by the chipboard. For this I am using clear gesso. You can also use white gesso or black gesso depending on the kind of color background that you're going for. Once gesso dries, I am going to paint my background keeping in mind the color palette from the challenge theme. I am using here impasto paints in the colors Poppy Red and the same Victorian green done on the window. I am simply spraying some water on my chipboard base and then dabbing the colors on it. I am adding more water so that my color can move around. I am not worried about the two colors mixing and forming mud because that's the kind of look I am going for, which is a distressed old wall background kind of a pastel shade. I am dabbing with tissue paper to absorb excess water and paint. I am going to let it dry before I move on to the next color. Now I am using a powder pigment from Lindy's in the color Oom-Pah-Pah Pink. It's a very nice pastel shade and goes perfectly with the challenge palette. I am firstly sprinkling some powder all over the texture design and then spraying water on it to activate the color. Next, I am standing my chipboard and adding more water to get the dripping color effect. But I don't want very prominent dripping effect as well, so I am dabbing the water and paint with the tissue. Again, I'm going to dry this layer of paint before moving on to the next one. Now for the next layer of paint, I'm going to dry brush some of the green and red impasto paint on the texture design to highlight it. Also, I'm using a very light hand to dry brush the paints and minimum paint on my brush. Next, I'm starting with the composition. For this, I'm firstly adhering my window using hot glue. You may also use your heavy body gel. Next goes on the focal image, which I have already adhered on chipboard for a solid base. Next, I have here a ton of fussy cut elements from Secret Place pattern paper from Minte Papers. I have here a hot air balloon element which I have cut in two parts from the center. I am adhering one part on the top right side behind the window shutter, and to balance the composition I am adhering the other half on the left bottom side. Next, a small bunch of flowers tucked behind the image, another couple of them at the bottom and right side of the image to balance everything. Now once I have decided on the placement of my fussy cut elements, I can now go on to arrange my handmade Foamiran flowers. For this, the best trick is to fill in the blank spaces around the fussy cut elements and always start with big flowers. Another thing to keep in mind is to create flower bunches in odd numbers like 3, 5, 7 and so on. I also like to use some distressed cheesecloth or medical gauze for an added background texture as well as a layer. It is also a good idea to use your clay embellishments as fillers in and around your floral clusters. It gives a nice layered look without having to do much. You may use these molds as is or color them like I will. Another important thing is foliage when forming floral clusters. Since my fussy cut elements are already loaded with green foliage, I haven't added much of it. But you should always add some sort of die cut leaves with flowers. I will paint my clay embellishments. I am first priming them with white gesso, drying them and then using the same colors as I used in the background. If you're enjoying watching this tutorial, please do give this video a thumbs up, and also don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. during my embellishments, I used a dark charcoal pencil and created lines around the brick wall design and smudged it with fingers to create some shadows. Now to add some interest in the white areas, I'm using two different stamps from Finnabair. I'm stamping using the Hickory Smoke Archival ink. This is a nice grey color and gives a very blended look. Moving on, I'm dry brushing white gesso on some areas I thought pink color was not needed, as well as to blend in with the background. I'm also dry brushing it on my flowers and window for a bright and distressed look. Lastly, I am finishing off my project by adhering some art stones, snow white flower pearls and sequins in the color Shabby Chic. Enjoyed this process tutorial and are able to learn new things. Please do give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to the channel before you go. Until next time, stay home, stay safe and keep crafting. Bye bye.